And there's no cam on this one. Of course not. That would be too easy. Oh my goodness. Now you can hear me, but you can't see me. Well, we're going to get there. Just hang with me here for a second. All right. Well, everybody can hear me, but you can't see me. I apologize, everybody, that I'm having some issues here. I do not know what the deal is, but I'm trying to figure it out here on the fly. So just bear with me here as I move through here and try to get everything working. Okay. Okay, everybody. I'm just gonna put myself up here in this little corner. Bear with me here. You're seeing some behind the scenes stuff happening live, but rest assured that I'm coming online. I'm here. So I apologize. We're getting there. What a day, what a day. Oh my gosh. These past 2 days are crazy. We're getting there though. Okay. Whoops. That's not the right one. There we go. Okay. Well, now at least you guys can see me, and that's all that matters. That's what I wanted. Okay. Well, talk about getting things going on the fly here. This is the fun stuff that happens in tech, everybody, and at least the next time I come on, this won't be this bad. I'm gonna make sure it's working the way that we want it to. So, thanks everybody for joining Sean Talks Cybersecurity. Yeah, let's wrap up some Linux fundamentals. Let's just dive right into it. It's been a heck of a day. It's been a heck of a couple days. I got sick, as you all know, and it's just been like one thing after the other. But hey, that's life, and that's just what happens. Anyway, let's finish up this Try Hack Me Room and carry on. Okay, Linux fundamentals part 3. We have basically covered the first 2, and you can go back and watch that. But basically, if we go out to deploying your Linux machine here, we'll start the machine. And then we need to start our attack box as well, going up here. And we're going to just use the web-based Kali Linux again. And then we will just wait for this to roll. And this is pretty much the way that everything goes here from here on out on Try Hack Me. If you've never been on Try Hack Me before, this is pretty much the status quo. Okay. Okay. Cool. We're just waiting for everything to load up here at this point, folks. See, I got a bit of a live audience here today. Thank you so much for joining in to Sean Talk Cybersecurity. For those that joined the stream right when we started, apologize for the technical difficulties there. It's just been because I switched over to my Windows laptop, and I've been very much trying to get this thing rolling and doing the way it was on my Mac. And yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. One step at a time. And hopefully we don't have any more technical issues. Hopefully this was the last of it. So anyway, let's talk about some terminal text editors in Linux. So we've got some pretty good ones here. Nano is my go-to, and I highly recommend Nano for people, but there are others as well, such as Vim. But you can't quit Vim. So just remember that if you start to get into Vim, you can't quit Vim. So throughout the series so far, we've only stored text in files using a combination of the echo command and the pipe operators. And that is our 2 caret. Basically, you have that caret and the double caret, right? And so this is an inefficient way to handle data when you're working with files with multiple lines and the sorts. So introducing terminal text editors, there are a few options that you can use, all with a variety of friendliness and utility. And this task is going to introduce you to Nano and then show you Vim as well. Cool. So Nano file name, replacing file name with the name you wish to edit. So basically, if you want to create something and you don't want to use touch, if you remember what touch was our command to create a random file. So we could do touch notes, right? And then if I do my ls-la, if you remember here, we now have notes here. See? And that's fantastic. So we have notes, right? Okay, so, but let's say, we'll just remove that. And, yeah, so we can see that's going to remove that. But anyway, let's talk about Nano. Nano, and then like if I want to create a new one and I call it notes, well, I now have a new file and it's called notes, and I can actually type in whatever I want in here, which is great because now we can actually save things and store them somewhere on a machine. So you're going to use Nano a lot, or you're going to use Vim, one or the other. I would say Nano is probably a little bit more user friendly, a little bit easier for beginners to start with. Vim is kind of a pain in the you know what. So once we press enter to execute the command, Nano will launch, which we've just done, right? Where we can just begin to start entering or modifying our text. You can navigate each line using the up and down arrow keys, or start a new line using the enter key on your keyboard. Cool. So we can type in whatever we want here. We could just say, hello, everyone, in the Sean Talks Cybersecurity community. And you can see right there that it comes up. But I could type whatever I want in there, right? Now, you can't do things like when I hit Control A, you'd imagine that that would do like, you know, just basically get everything all at once, select all. That's not the way things work. You have this little handy-dandy help right here. So Control whatever you type here is what actually it's going to do. So if I want to exit, I would hit Control X, and then it's going to ask me if I want to save, and I'm going to hit no, and now I'm back in my terminal. So keep that in mind. So you can see here, I kind of got a little ahead, but Control key shows you that, and you have those little things that showed up here on the bottom, and that is how you know where you're at whenever you're in Nano. So you can search for text, copy and paste, jumping to a line number, and then finding out what line you're on. Now Vim is a much more advanced text editor, and it's basically for the people who are super hardcore. it's hardcore. Vim is yeah, I won't even get into Vim. I'm not a huge Vim fan myself, but I know there are people who love it, and I won't, you know, I don't hate on people for whatever you like. You know, if you like Vim, then you like Vim. But some of Vim's benefits are taking a much longer time to become familiar with. Includes it's customizable, so you can modify keyboard shortcuts to be of your choosing. You can do syntax highlighting, so this is useful if you're writing or maintaining code, and so that makes it a popular choice for software devs. Vim works on all terminals where Nano may not be installed. And then there are a lot of resources such as cheat sheets, tutorials, and the sorts available to use. So this one here I want to highlight because it's actually really important to keep in mind. If you're going to really be an ethical hacker, Vim might be advantageous to you to get familiar with because of the fact that like Nano's not going to be on everything. So if you get familiar with Vim, your likelihood of being able to just use Vim and get things done that you need to get done are probably good. So we did create a file using, actually no, we didn't save it. So let's just do this. We're gonna create a file in Nano, and we're gonna save it this time. We're gonna say hello world, hello world. There we go. Okay, and then we'll hit Control S for save, and then Control X. If I just hit Control X, it will just give me the option to save. But I like to just, for my own sanity, put Control S because that's a manual save, and so there I know that it's done. So edit task 3 located in TryHackMe's home directory using Nano. Okay, so what did we have here? Task 3 and TryHackMe's home directory. Oh, is this the same box that we had yesterday? I wonder. So we had, yeah. So we got to actually remote into this machine. That's right. So yeah. So if you guys remember from the thing that we did yesterday, we had SSH, and then we had to do TryHackMe at 10.10.235.107, and then it'll prompt us for the password, in which we know, and now we should be in, if I typed all that correctly. Yeah, okay, so now we're in this Linux box. I apologize, I skipped over that, but essentially now we're SSH'd in. So if you want to learn how to SSH and you didn't catch that one yesterday, but you can go out and watch that. But let me clear the terminal because I don't need all this extra information. Let's figure out where we're at here. So we need to know ls, and we have task 3. So, and I should have really used Nano, not on this Kali box, but the Kali box wipes itself. So not a big deal, not a huge deal. So task 3 located in TryHackMe's home directory. What is the flag? Nano task 3. THM text editors. All right. Now, as I said before, I can't just like copy and paste this. I can do it by right clicking, and I should be able to just bring that over. Yeah, cool. But it's once you're in here and you start to like actually play around. I mean, maybe I can do Control C, but I don't know. I don't want to waste your time. Basically, downloading files, wget, general useful utilities. We have a pretty fundamental feature of computing is the ability to transfer files. For example, you may want to download a program, a script, or even a picture. Thankfully for us, there are multiple ways in which we can retrieve these files. wget is going to be essential for your career in cybersecurity. We're going to cover wget, and this allows us to download any file from HTTP as if you're accessing the file right in your browser, right? So, like if I do a new install of like Linux on a VM or something like that, I usually do wget for Google Chrome, right? Because it's just an easier way to pull down Google Chrome and then install it that way. AI is very prevalent, I'm sure, as you are well aware. You go out to ChatGPT, or if you go out to Grok or anything, whatever your preference is, you can go out there and you can actually ask it to do a wget for whatever, and it'll actually tell you command line, like actually how to type that in. Now, like I said, I've said this before in other videos, I would not get familiar, or I wouldn't get too reliant on using AI, but just know that as a tool that you can do such a thing like that. So the next thing is we can transfer our files via from our host SCP. So secure copy is SCP, and that is a means of securely copying files. Unlike the regular CP command, this command allows you to transfer files between two computers using SSH to provide both authentication and encryption. Working on a model of source and destination, SCP allows you to copy files and directories from your current system to a remote system, and then copy files and directories from a remote system to your current system. Very handy, as you can likely imagine how this could actually play out. If you're doing a little bit of puzzle solving in your head, you can kind of put the puzzle pieces together, look at the domino effect of how, as you learn this, and how you can actually put this into effect. Oh wow, I found this this thing on this box. Like, let me just go ahead and I'm breaking in. Let me just put this piece of malware on this machine, and I'm now into their machine, right? So, or like you need a rainbow table or something to go ahead and break into, you know, crack into a system or something. I mean, obviously, like, not to get ahead of ourselves, but like if you come out here, you can actually see all the different tools that you have access to built into Kali. And you can use all these different things to, you know, we'll get there. We'll get there. I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but when we get there, you'll see. Okay. All right. let's get back to reality here for a second. So IP address of the remote system, like this, and then we have our user of the remote system, Ubuntu in this case, name of the file on the local system, important.txt, and then the name that we wish to transfer or to store the file as on the remote system, so transfer.txt. So with this information, let's craft our SCP command, remembering that the format of SCP is just source and destination. So SCP, and then whatever our name of our file is here, and then the user at the IP address, and then this right here telling us, okay, it's going to go here, home, Ubuntu transferred.txt. So IP address of the remote system, right there. User on the remote system, we have Ubuntu right there, okay. Name of the file on the remote system, documents.txt. Right here, I guess actually we're actually looking at this, not up here, so I apologize. But anyway, Ubuntu 192.168.30, right? Okay, and then we have documents.txt right there, and then now that we wish to store the file on our system, now it's notes.txt. So this is actually if we're going to go ahead and copy it out to ours. So this is to the machine. This is from the machine over to us. Okay, that's the way. If you want to write that out somewhere or take a screenshot of that, that's how that works. So serving files from your host, which is for web. So Ubuntu machines come prepackaged with Python 3. Python helpfully provides a lightweight and easy to use module called HTTP server. This module turns your computer into a quick and easy web server that you can use to serve your own files, where they can be downloaded by another computer using commands such as curl and wget. Python's HTTP server will serve the file in the directory where you run the command, but this can be changed by providing options that can be found within the manual pages. Simply, all we need to do is run Python 3-m HTTP server. And if you remember, for those who have been watching me since the beginning, I actually mentioned this when we talked about our web series. And if you want to, you can go back and watch those. But this is what I meant whenever I said you can easily spin up a web server in Python. Boom, right here, Python web server. In the terminal to start the module, in the snippet below, we're serving a directory called web server, which has a single named file. Super useful. You're going to definitely use this in your career if you're going to be an ethical hacker. I can promise you that. You will use Python HTTP server because it's a very easy way to get files transferred easily. Okay, so now let's use wget to download the file using this, right? 10.10.235.107 address and the name of the file. Remember, because the Python 3 server is running port 8000, you will need to specify this within your wget command. For example, right, so wget HTTP 8000, right, the IP address right here, okay, port 8000, and then my file. Now you will need to open a new terminal to use wget and leave the one that you have started the Python 3 web server in. This is because once you start the Python 3 web server, it will run in the terminal until you cancel it. So that's really helpful, and that's the reason. One thing that's nice is that you have like this file, and then you can do like a new tab, or you can even do a new window, and you can actually run that Python server right out of that new window or that new tab, and you can continue to do all the rest of your hacking or whatever you're doing from the from whatever other tabs you have open. So let's take a look in the snippet below as an example. So right here you have wget HTTP 10.10.235.107 8000 and then file, right? And then it's connecting to that. So this is the local address, right? And then basically you get file and then connected, and then you say, okay, I got a 200 back. You guys remember that 200 code? And then we get our length, and then saving to file, transferred, and then boom, file saved, right? So remember, you will need to run the wget command in another terminal while keeping the terminal that is running Python 3 server active, right? So that's what I was just saying. You need to have either a new window or a new tab. So we'll just do new window, okay? So one flaw with this method is that you have no way of indexing, so you must know the exact name and location of the file that you wish to use. This is why I prefer to use updog. What's updog? What's up, dog? A more advanced yet lightweight web server. But for now, let's stick to using Python's HTTP server. So ensure you're connected to the deployed instance, which we are, right? So let's get on out of here because we don't need this anymore, okay? And so basically, we know we're on 10.10.235, right? So we know that's done. And now we want to use Python HTTP server module to start a web server in the home directory of the try-hack-me user, right? Okay. So it's been a while since I've done this, but we're going to try it out. So we want to do Python 3-m HTTP dot server, and then now we've started our server. Now keep in mind, if you're on a box and they don't have Python 3 installed, you're not going to be able to do this. So this is important to know. You might have to go ahead and do another method, or you might have to install Python 3, which could look pretty fishy if you're trying to basically, ethically hack that box for an enterprise or something like that, right? So now that we've created that HTTP server, we know that that's there, okay? And so now we want to download the file for flag.txt onto the try-hack-me attack box. So I got to figure out where that's at. Do we have flag.txt here? I don't even know. Where is this at? Download the file 10.10.235.107 flag.txt onto the try-hack-me attack box. Okay. I should have done this. What I should have done is I should have checked and seen where that flag.txt was at first. But that's okay, because we're going to do this. We're going to just take and do we're going to use this window here. We are going to cancel this out. We're going to go ahead and do ls-la, and let's see if we can find the flag.txt. So there we can see that we have this .flag.txt. So we know it's here, and now we can just reestablish our Python server. And basically from there we can pull that in. So we want to use that wget and clear this out. We don't need all that. Wget HTTP. And then what the address was what was it? 10.10.235.107, and then port 8000, right? And then we know we want the .flag.txt, and that should be all we need, correct? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And then we should be able to get that, and boom, now we have it. And so you can see here it was successful. So now we should be able to see ls-la. We should see it come up here. Where's that? .flag.txt. Okay. And so once we have that, we should be able to do nano.flag.txt. And so we get our thm.wget server. Sweet. So you can see this is the very beginning basics of capture the flag, and it can get pretty fun. So create and download files to further apply your learning. See how you can read the documentation on Python 3's HTTP server module, and then use Control-C to stop the Python 3 server module once you're finished. And that's what I did before. I just hit Control-C. That's kind of how you interrupt any command, typically running on Linux. So just important stuff to kind of keep in mind. Control-C. Just don't lose that one. You're going to need to know that. I'm not going to do this part because I've already done it before, but if you want to go out and do it on your own, I encourage you to do that anyway. Just give yourself some real-world practice, but that way you can actually understand what you have going on. Okay, moving on. Processes 101. So viewing processes. Processes are the programs that are running on your machine. They're managed by the kernel, where each process will have an ID associated with it, also known as its PID. The PID increments for the order in which the process starts, i.e. the 60th process will have a PID of 60. Okay, so PID just stands for a process ID. One of the nice things about here on try-hack-me is that it actually tells you, and you have one of these little dotted underlines, you can actually go in and you can see what it actually means. So in the context of operating systems, a PID stands for process ID. It is a unique identifier assigned to each running process in a system. Okay, So we can use friendly PS command to provide a list of the running processes as our user's session and some additional information such as its status code, the session that it's running, and how much usage time of the CPU it is using, and the name of the actual program or command that is being executed. Okay, so note that how in the screenshot above, the second process, PS, has a PID of 204, and then in the command below, this is incremented to 205. So PTS1, PTS1, and you can see 204 and then 205. Okay. So to see the process run by other users and those that don't run from a session, we need to provide aux to the PS command like so, PS aux. Okay, so this is to see the process run by other users, and those that don't run from a session, i.e. system processes. So remember that PS aux. Note we can see a total of 5 processes. Note how we now have root and CMNATIC. Another very useful command is the top command. Top gives you real-time statistics about processes running on your system instead of a one-time view. These statistics refresh about every 10 seconds, but will also refresh when you use the arrow keys to browse the various rows. Another great command to gain insight is top. So top's just your basically your top running processes. I can tell you as a sysadmin, I've seen this used, and so I would highly recommend that you familiarize yourself with top, but don't forget about your PS, aux, and PS. And then managing processes. So you can send signals that terminate processes that there are a variety of types of signals that correlate to exactly how cleanly the process is dealt with by the kernel. To kill a command, we can use the appropriately named kill command and the associated PID that we wish to kill. So if we want to kill 1337, we use kill 1337. And then there are some of the signals that we can send to a process when it's killed. So sig term, kill the process, but allow it to do some cleanup tasks. Sig kill the process, don't do any cleanup after the fact. And then sig stop or suspend a process. Okay, moving ahead here. If I'm going too fast, the chat here is live right below my face here. If you want to chat with me live, you can do that anytime, and I definitely do pay attention to the chat, so I'd be happy to get any feedback you have. So let's start off by talking about namespaces. The operating system uses namespace to ultimately split up the resources available on the computer to CPU, RAM, and priority processes, right? And this is part of your 4 horsemen, right? So you have CPU, RAM, disk, and the other thing, I can't remember it off the top of my head. I apologize. But CPU, RAM, your disk, and yeah. But think of it as splitting your computer up into slices similar to cake. Process within the slice will have access to a certain amount of computing power. However, it will be a small portion of what is actually available to every process overall. Namespaces are great for security as it is a way of isolating processes from another. Only those that are in the same namespace will be able to see each other. Well, we previously talked about how PID works, and this is where it comes into play. So the process with an ID of 0 is a process that is started when the system boots. This process is the system's initial process on Ubuntu, such as systemd, right? And then which is used to provide a way of managing a user's processes and sits in between the operating system and the user. So once a system boots and initializes systemd is one of the first processes that are started. Any program or piece of software that we want to start will start what's known as a child process of systemd. So it'll start underneath of systemd. So this means that it is controlled by systemd, but it will run as its own process. Okay, keep that in mind because systemd could be really important. Some applications, so getting processes services to start on boot. So some processes can be started on the boot of the system that we own, for example, web servers, databases, servers, or file transfer servers. This software is often critical and is often told to start during the boot up of the system by administrators. In this example, we're going to be telling the Apache web server to be starting Apache manually and then telling the system to launch Apache 2 on boot. So enter the use of systemctl. This command allows us to interact with systemd process daemon, continuing on. This is another thing, right? So you got to remember that. So systemd, right? If you remember up here, I said that was going to come in handy, right? So systemd, continuing on with our example, systemctl is an easy to use command that takes the following formatting: systemctl, and then option, and then service. For example, to tell Apache to start up, we'll use systemctl start Apache 2. So seems simple enough, right? Same with if we wanted to stop Apache, we just replace with the option with stop, right? Instead, so systemctl, we'll replace the option, so we'd say stop, right? So we can do 4 options with systemctl: start, stop, enable, and disable. An introduction to background and foreground in Linux. Processes can run in 2 states, in the background and in the foreground. And guys, like, let's just take a quick second here and admit, like, this stuff is complex and it's somewhat dry, so I apologize. I'm doing my best to make it exciting, but I promise you it does really play into the real world, and you will use it. You will definitely use this. This is probably the driest stuff when it comes to this, so just bear with me because we're going to get through this. But basically, continuing on, processes run in 2 states, in the background and in the foreground. For example, commands that you run in your terminal, such as echo or things of that sort, will run in the back or in the foreground of your terminal, as it is the only command provided that hasn't been told to run in the background. Echo is a great example, as the output of echo will return to you in the foreground but wouldn't in the background. Take the screenshot below, for example. So let's take this one step at a time. So echo hi THM, right? Echo hi THM and, right? So then we have this 1 here and then 16889, right? Hi THM. So here we're running echo hi THM, where we expect the output to be returned to us like it is at the start, but after adding the and symbol here in the background, we're instead just giving the ID. We're given the ID of the echo process rather than the actual output. So that's important, as it is running in the background. This is great for commands such as copying files, because it means that we can run the command in the background and continue on with whatever further commands we wish to execute without having to wait for the file copy to finish first. We can do the exact same process. We can do the exact same when executing things like scripts. Rather than relying on the operator, we can use Control-Z on our keyboard to background a process. It is also an effective way of pausing the execution of a script or command, like in the example below. So you will background processes at times, and so it's important to remember this Control-Z, right? The script will keep on repeating. This will keep on looping until I stop or suspend the process by using Control-Z, as indicated by T upper Z. Now our terminal is no longer filled up with messages, right? So that's this T up Z right here. I can't actually hit that, but that's what this is, right? So he hit Control-Z until we foreground it, which we will discuss below. Okay, continuing on. Thanks for sticking with me. I know this is kind of deep stuff, but foregrounding a process, now that we have a process running in the background, for example, our script background.sh can be confirmed by using the psaux command. We can backpedal and bring this process back to the foreground to interact with. With our process backgrounded, using Control-Z or the operator and, we can use the FG to bring this back to the focus like below, where we can see the foreground command is being used to bring the background process back into use on the terminal, where the output of the script is now returned to us. Okay, read me. Yes, I've read you. Okay, we definitely read you. Okay, if we were to launch a process where the previous ID was 300, what would the ID of this new process be? That should be 301. Yes, if we want to cleanly kill a process, the signal we would send would be sig, yeah, let's go back. Yeah, sig term is her. And yeah, like I've said before in my past live streams, everybody, if you don't remember everything, it's okay. Just You don't have to know every single thing. Like, I didn't remember that exactly, but you can always reference things. Locate the process that is running on the deployed instance. What flag is given? Okay, so first we have to remote back in. Should have just left myself remoted in, but we're going to get there. All right. I guess I should be able to actually just go back through the history here and see. Nope, I can't. So they have history turned off on this. SSH dot, we want to try hack me at 10.10.235.107. And then now we just need the password, which is try hack me. And so now we're back in. Okay, so now we're in, and we need to know what the processes are. Okay, let's take a look here. Okay. Locate the processes is running on deployed instance. So let's just take a look at where I'm going to start first. Is I'm going to do this a little backwards. I'm actually going to do top and see what the running processes are. So I have this BADR that just came up. Yeah, so this one right here is kind of interesting. And there was that top that came up. I'm curious if this is what I'm looking for, but we're going to just cancel out of that actually right now. And then let's go into the command to get into the processes. So I come back up here and look at our different commands that we can do. Okay, so we want to start off with PS. Aux. Okay. And so we can see SSHD. We have a ton right here. So there we go. THM processes. There is our flag. That's what we want. So locate the processes running on the deployed instance. What flag is given? Okay. We can see basically just wanted us to go through. What command would we use to stop the service my service? So to stop the service, we would have to go to systemctl stop and then my service. Right? What command would we use to start the same service on the boot up of the system? So systemctl, and then we would say start. No, we don't want to have start. What command would we use to start the same service on the boot up? So this is important. For the startup, we have to have systemctl, right? And then we'd say tell Apache to start up. We'll use systemctl start Apache 2, right? And then we can do 4 options, systemctl. We can do start, stop, enable, and disable. So maybe it's just enable. But listen, if you want to, just to kind of make things easier, you can always go out to DuckDuckGo or Google, whatever your preference. I like privacy, so I respect DuckDuckGo. As a cybersecurity professional, I think DuckDuckGo is way better. That's just my opinion. But if we get something like this and you don't know like something, you can just copy this out and then, you know, put that out on DuckDuckGo and take a look. Okay, so if we go and click on, you can see here, we don't want to have any of these. So basically, you don't want to click on any of these try hack me things. Not for the fact that you can't do it. It's going to give you a walkthrough. And here's the thing. I just want to take a second and talk about these. These walkthroughs and these write-ups are great if you get really stumped. But the thing is, and I speak from my own personal experience when I first started on this platform, if you start to go through the walkthroughs, it's basically like the cheat codes when you play a video game, okay? Anybody who plays video games, if you start to go through and you start to use the cheat codes, it takes the fun out of it because now you know how to get through and do everything, but you're not actually learning how to get good at it. Okay, you gotta not use the cheat codes. That's what these are. These are all just cheat codes, okay? So don't use these. actually look for the answer. Don't just start look. So like, let's just take this a little bit more generalized, and let's say what command would I use to start a service on boot up? What I use to start a service on boot up of my system. So that should be generic enough that it should actually be able to answer. So there we go. So like I said, I find that if you do this, it's probably going to be better for you. And just because like you don't want to, and see like right here, this is our answer. So sudo systemctl enables service name. Now I wouldn't do sudo personally, because you shouldn't do sudo unless it's not working, and then you do sudo only once you confirm that it's not going to be like a security risk to you. But systemctl enables service name. Now let me ask you, would you rather do something the hard way or the easy way? I would much rather do it the hard way, because if you don't do it the hard way, you're not learning anything. And so that's my only rant that I'm going to give you today, guys. I'm sorry. I just wanted to tell you, I don't think it's worth going through the cheat codes and doing it that way, because it's going to take all the fun out of it and you're not going to actually learn anything. So we just want to have my service here. And then what command would you use to bring a previously backgrounded process back to the foreground? To bring it back to the foreground, you'd use FG. Okay, and that's it. We're going to get into some more, probably I'm thinking tomorrow. There's a lot more Linux here than I realized, and I don't really want to go ahead and have, this is going to get to be a really long session here. I feel like we tackled a lot today, and I don't want to like keep it going and lose any kind of attention span or anything like that. I know this was a very heavy session, and I appreciate you guys following along and watching. But tomorrow we'll start off with maintaining your system automation, and then we'll go into package management and logs, and we'll finish up, and we'll make it a fun day. We'll have some more news for you guys. I just want to say thank you guys so much for joining in to this live stream today. Again, sorry for the technical difficulties. I'm still working on some of this stuff here on my end since I switched back over to Windows, and I'm still kind of getting it all back to the way I want it to be. So I appreciate it. So thank you guys so much. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you tomorrow.